Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of Deuteronomy. We're still looking at Deuteronomy chapter 4. Today we're going to look at verses 15 through 20. Now remember in yesterday's session we saw that Moses had encouraged the Israelites to remember who God was, that he was the one who redeemed them. He was the one who brought them out of Egypt. He was the one who met them at Mount Sinai. And because he was God, they were to worship only him. Now the Canaanites, whose land they are about to possess, worship other gods, that is, they have idols. And Israel would be tempted to fall into that idolatry. So Moses says, remember who the Lord is. Remember the Lord your God who delivered you. He is close to you. You must be faithful to him. You must be loyal to him. And now he continues that thought by talking about idolatry. This is the temptation you will face, to make idols like the Canaanites do, but you must not engage in such practice. So notice what he says, verse 15. You saw no form of any kind the day the Lord spoke to you from Horeb out of the fire. Now Horeb is Mount Sinai. He's referring them back to that. When God met with you, you did not see a form. You heard his voice. You saw the cloud. You saw the fire, but you did not see the Lord. Therefore, watch yourselves very carefully, so that you do not become corrupt and make for yourself an idol, an image of any shape, whether formed like a man or woman, or like any animal on the earth, or any bird that flies in the air, or like any creature that moves along the ground, or any fish in the waters below. The Canaanites make themselves idols. You must not do so. Don't fall into idolatry. Now, of course, when we get to the Ten Commandments, which he's going to restate in a couple of chapters, that's going to come up again. But here at the very beginning, he says, remember who God is, who met you on Mount Sinai. You didn't see his form, so why do you think you would make an idol to worship? Do not engage in idolatry. Moses goes on. When you look up to the sky and you see the sun, the moon, and the stars, all the heavenly array, do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshiping things the Lord your God has apportioned to all the nations under heaven. But as for you, the Lord took you. He brought you out of the iron smelting furnace, out of Egypt, to be the people of his inheritance, as you now are. So you don't make any idols, and you don't worship the heavenly array, the sun or the moon or the stars. That's what these other peoples do. These were things that God created, but these other peoples have fallen into worshiping them. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. You worship only the Lord your God. So see, the heart of the law, the heart of the instruction for the people of God, begins with being loyal only to God. Don't make idols like the other peoples do, and don't worship the stars, the moon, the sun, like other peoples do. You worship only the Lord your God. In verse 23, he goes on to say, so be careful not to forget the covenant of the Lord your God that he made with you. Do not make for yourself an idol in the form of anything the Lord your God has forbidden. For the Lord your God is a consuming fire, a jealous God. Again, worship only God. This is the heart of the law. This is where it begins. Worship only God. Don't fall into idolatry, and don't worship those other things that the other nations do. For God is a consuming fire. They had seen the fire on Mount Sinai, symbolizing his presence. Our God is a consuming fire. He is a jealous God. And what does it mean that God is a jealous God? He's jealous for us. He wants us to be his, and he will not allow our affections to turn to any other forms of worship, to idols or to created things. He's a jealous God. He's jealous for our love, because when we love only him, our life is full. If we worship other things, our life becomes rebellious and fractured and incomplete. God is jealous for us so that our lives can be full in the worship only of him. So we see this all through the Bible, do we not? It all centers on worshiping only the Lord your God. And that's at the start of the law, as Moses gives it to the Israelites in Deuteronomy. It's a restatement of what they received at Mount Sinai. Moses is just saying the same lesson again. Worship only the Lord your God. Same for us. The high mark of our life is when we worship only God. The fall of our life comes when we start worshiping other things. If we turn to idols, if we worship anything besides the God, that is when we fall. We stay true. We stay firm when we worship only the Lord our God. He is jealous for us because he wants us to worship only him and find fullness of life in him. You join us tomorrow for our 5 minutes Bible study in Deuteronomy. We're going to wrap up chapter 4 tomorrow. So I hope you'll be with us for our next session.